Hi friends, I'm in Venezuela. Here they have the magnificent Caribbean Sea, splendid waterfalls, magnificent jungles and fiery dancers. But in fact, I'm here for other reasons. Venezuela is also a country torn apart, not just by severe political instability and violent protests, but by economic collapse and brutal hyperinflation. For the past 20 years, the nation has been spiraling downward. Once the richest country in South America, Venezuela has been plunged into a humanitarian crisis. Thousands fled, children went hungry, whole cities were turned into wastelands. Hope became a luxury, and just recently the world bore witness to the country's president Maduro being captured by US forces and taken to New York to face drug trafficking charges. His successor, Delcy Rodriguez, now rules with Washington's backing, but the crackdown hasn't stopped. Right now I'm in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, and it's often called the world's most dangerous city.
I can't promise you'll save your camera in those 2 blocks.
Today we'll talk of Venezuela and how to survive under such horrible conditions. And let me remind you that many of you have not subscribed to my channel yet. Don't forget to fix that up and let's look around Venezuela.
We'd better go on foot here, just a couple of blocks. The very center of Caracas. What could possibly go wrong here? But Anna warns me against hanging around with my camera and insists on driving, because my camera can get stolen easily. Yes, in the Latin America's safest city. I didn't call Caracas the safest city, don't say that. Why can't we cover those 2 blocks on foot? Because I can't promise you'll save your camera in those 2 blocks. Can we give it a try? You may survive, but not your camera. I wouldn't recommend you to walk around and shoot anything here. That's Simon Bolivar, the local liberator. Those are happy Indians who brought fruit under his horse's ass. The artist saw it like this, so what? I'd better turn the horse around. It seems the fruit were a present for Bolivar, and he was like, nice, my meal's finally here. That's a policeman with a gun, with a real gun. His uniform is filthy, his pants are filthy, but his gun is pristine. The key point is the gun, which looks perfect. That means we're safe here. They have bike helmets on while driving motorcycles. With his helmet, you may think he's a bike policeman, but in fact, he's from a motorcycle unit. And he makes me feel safe. Ask him, has he ever killed someone? No. No firefights or pursuits? I had that once, yes. He was in a pursuit, okay. How much is his salary? $40 a month. $40 a month? No way. Does he work for $40 a month? Yes. A policeman gets $40 a month. For such a salary, I guess he won't die for me if I get robbed. Will he? $40 a month? How do you manage for $40 a month? I try to stretch it out, to spend less. How old is he? 19. I'm 19. 19? What's his rank? He's just graduated, right? Officer. I'm an officer. A police officer. 19 years old. $40 a month. Thank you. Amazing. Anna and I are walking around Caracas city center unescorted. The only thing Anna asked me was to put my camera in my backpack. Yes, to make it easier for the robbers to grab it and run away with. Not to deal with any straps and such stuff. She told me just put all your stuff in your backpack and that's it. Yes. Help people avoid all the fumbling. Yes, sure. In fact, 6 years back, we couldn't roam around here unescorted. Back then, I was asked to put away my phone and my wristwatch. But now, everyone shows off their watches safely. Some even ride their motorcycles holding a phone. Some even have several wristwatches on. And I guess not all of them are theirs. Amazing river. In fact, some would call it a stinky river, but I see people collecting garbage in bags and making the river cleaner. Someone lives out there, by the way. Oh my, there's a ladder. They climb down the ladder and there's a house. An under-bridge house. Hello, kids and dogs. Amazing place right in the center of Caracas. Fake sneakers. I guess everything here is fake. You see, they changed the logo a bit. That's not Nike, that's chipped Nike. Someone is rummaging in the garbage, but then he's free. It looks exactly like New York. This and that, it looks like New York. And I'm not kidding, with all the pavement patches and garbage, it reminds me of Manhattan. Somewhere between 7th Avenue and 35th Street. Except for the ever-present New York hot dog sellers, everything looks just the same. Now let's go to the city wallowing in Venezuelan oil. Well, at least it used to. My friends, I'm in Maracaibo, the oil capital of Venezuela. Here they have the oil pool that once allowed Venezuela to be the richest country in Latin America and one of the richest countries in the world. Yes, now it's hard to believe, but back in the 20th century, that was true. Oil extraction in Venezuela started in the 19th century. In the first half of the 20th century, that was a flourishing field. Oil amounted up to 25% of the country's income, and Venezuela was rich. In 1938, Venezuela's GDP per capita was nearly equal to that of France and 2 times greater than that of the USSR. By 1970, Venezuela's GDP was even greater than Great Britain's and 3 times greater than nearby Brazil's. In the 1970s, world oil prices increased by several times. It could have been a chance for Venezuela's breakthrough. To multiply the income, the government decided to nationalize the country's oil industry by seizing it from foreign enterprises. That was when all their problems began. The government was not successful in the business. First, Venezuela was on standstill, and after the oil price drop of the 1980s, the country slid into crisis. Since then, Venezuela stopped being rich, and its oil capital turned into… well, let's go and see what happened to it. That's what a subway station looks like. That's the last station, the end of the line. The subway's closed. Where are they going? Why are they taking the subway fan? Why isn't anyone working? The power's off. No power. Why do they need the fan then? Something's definitely wrong with the revolution and socialism in Venezuela, because the power is off and the subway is closed. Some guys with motorcycles are on duty here, working as a moto taxi. The ladies don't want to comment on the closed Maracaibo subway. It's not even midday yet and the power's off. If they tell the truth, they'll lose their jobs. That's how the power service works. Once a day, they turn off power in each Maracaibo district for 4 or 5 hours. 20 years back, the power service in Venezuela was perfect. We even used to supply Bolivia and Colombia with power.
But since we got Maduro, the power supply system has changed.
And as a result, 10 years ago, the power restrictions were introduced. Here, the power is on, the street lamps are on, but the subway has no power and is currently closed. Everyone is sitting here sadly and waiting for God knows what. I'd say the city looks kind of desolate. Yes, definitely desolate. That used to be a casino. While walking along the main streets here, you don't get if the city's alive or not, if anything's going on here. I've seen several auto dealer offices throughout the city, and all of them were empty. Not a single car in there. They all look desolate. That's how an ex-casino looks like, and it's clear that it was desolate long before the COVID period. It has been like that for 5 or 6 years. The reasons are the financial crisis, the crime rate, all the shit that's going on in Venezuela. People stopped coming here. Tourists stopped visiting the country. Both souvenir stores and casinos are closed now. The same about restaurants and hotels. The city's totally neglected. A huge building, but it's completely grown over. That's an enormous parking lot for like hundreds of cars. Looks like we can't enter it. Kind of a messy area. People live right here under the palm trees. Homeless people. The casino closed 10 years ago, and it still hasn't been demolished. Judging by the traffic, that's a kind of local boardwalk. The local boulevard de la Croisette. Well, except it's fouled all over. But people stay cool here, music is playing, everyone's having fun. It seems to have been someone's house once, but it hung its head and laid down for a while. I wonder how they put bathrooms here. I found a kid having a rest here, next to 2 Dalmatians. That's a popular tourist area. Lots of restaurants are here for people to eat in. That's the most weird area you can find, a mix of tourism and poverty.
With all the trash around here, I certainly wanted to know if the locals supported the government.
Whom did you vote for in the last elections? No, I didn't vote at all. Last time I voted, it was for Chavez. Since then, I didn't vote at all. Why doesn't he vote anymore? Every time the voting starts, I go away. Once I was in Colombia, and then I went to Canada. I'll tell you what, right now, I don't expect help from anybody. If I don't work, I'll have nothing to eat. I don't support anyone, that's it. After a short political conversation, the local man agreed to show us his house. What's in here? I asked him the same question. Why don't they clean it up? Some trucks were here. At least they cleaned up this part. Back then there was garbage all over. But the government helped us with that. It used to be much worse in here. Is that your fish? Yes. Can you show us what fish you get here? Yeah, sure. That's what we caught. That's a weak fish. I've got a question about the fish. What do you do with its entrails? Well, I can't tell. He can't tell you. That's a complicated question. We don't know for sure what to do with it. We know some people used to do something, but it was prohibited. Back then, people bought them too, but they were dried. Then the price increased and now they ship it to China. That's all I can say. Yes, we really don't know. In China, I hear they cook it somehow. But no one really knows how they use the fish entrails. Yes. I hear lots of fishermen died because of this. Yes, lots of fishermen even got killed for this. How much do you get for them? The price per kilo depends on the size. 1 kilo of the largest fish entrails is nearly 800. No, it's 390. 1 kilo of entrails is nearly 390 bolivars. That means nearly $100 per kilo. 1 kilo of fish for $100? Not fish, but its entrails. 1 kilo of entrails for $100? To tell you the truth, I haven't gone fishing for almost 4 months. I went fishing with my brother-in-law and we didn't catch anything. So I became a fish department manager at a grocery store. How much is your official salary? At the store, I get $180 a month. And a food package for $50. Hold on, he can go fishing and sell entrails for $100 a kilo. Why does he keep working at the store for $100 a month? Because I don't have steady luck in fishing. If I catch nothing, I'll earn nothing. Say I have to catch... Yes, and as a store employee, I can bring home fresh fish. Gangs used to work here. Some of them still come here occasionally. They were like hijackers. But instead of cars, they used to steal motorboats. One boat may cost several thousands of dollars. And if the boat contains a fish haul or even weak fish, it can cost a fortune. Are there any gangs now? No, not anymore. The fishing is safe now. Of course, life under such conditions was not their choice. Maracaibo turned into slums long ago, and even its ex-bank offices look like apocalypse game sites. All that was left of the local city bank. It was pillaged once, but now it's cleaned, and suspected to be restored. But you see, everything was stolen, even the circuit system. Nothing was saved. Elevator shafts. That used to be a parking lot. Honestly, it seems like 80% of the buildings in downtown are abandoned. Here's another street. Everything is abandoned. The street itself is blocked. Garbage is all over the place. Nothing was left of the building. Everything is filthy. On the one hand, that's the oil capital. On the other hand, 80% of downtown buildings seem abandoned. You can see how the city center looks like. I can't even compare it to Detroit. It's much worse. It looks like Detroit that's just starting to get robbed. No one takes garbage away. The subway's not working, the power's off. Almost no people outside. Everything looks totally devastated. That's how one of the main city streets looks like. We're not in the suburbs now. The building used to be the city bank's office, but it was pillaged. Another building here, also an abandoned one, that looks desolated. Everything's off. I guess that was a kind of passage, but it's piled up with garbage now. Garbage all over the place. A lone sad man with a cane is coming over, along the godforsaken city. Not only bank buildings in Maracaibo are in such a state. Like all over the country, Maracaibo government offices are closed. Their employees don't attend work. They come like twice a month to get their salary and grocery pack. And the government offices themselves are almost empty. They're just closed. If you need some kind of service, you hire a lawyer to help you with it. The government procedures in Maracaibo are poor now, like getting legal routine services or documents, because no one fulfills that anymore. Take the election commission. It doesn't work in Maracaibo. They don't have an office here. You have to apply in Caracas. I take it if you need a document, you have to find a government employee and persuade them into helping you. And pay them yourself because it's you who need something. Not a government employee actually, but a lawyer. Well, in fact, when you as a citizen need some government service, when you need the bureaucratic machine to move its wheels, you hire a lawyer and pay them to do their job. Well, that seems about right. The disgruntled citizens solved the government problem drastically and burnt down the Election Commission office. That used to be the Zulia Election Commission office. The building was set on fire during the riots. After Capriles lost the election to Chavez, I presume. During the second round of riots, there were even more people. It was impossible to control them. First, Capriles lost to Chavez, and then to Maduro. He lost to Maduro in 2014 or 2015, I presume. Only voting takes place here. There is no election commission office. The last riots we had were rather rough. Lots of buildings were destroyed, both private and government ones, plenty of them. And the city seems to have remained like that. Cooperation is always for the best. Piles of garbage, filthy streets, people living in poverty. The life here is not getting any better. Don't worry, it's fine. Maracaibo's future was burnt down even before the Election Commission office. Although you can still find something good in here. At some point we thought the city was hopeless as a tourist place, that there's nothing here to see except garbage and devastation. But unexpectedly, we found an incredibly splendid downtown that's not burnt down or robbed yet. The reason is the products it's made of. It makes no sense to steal them, and they are fireproof. That's why it's almost undamaged. Grand old street lamps we have here. That one is partly damaged, but okay. The slums are right over there, but still. Here are some of the most splendid downtown benches you see. Some artwork, temples, trees. All accusations against this city are wrong. Just look at the bench. Okay, it's a modern one. The designers obviously did their best to make it uncomfortable. Maybe that's why there's so few people in here. In general, if you don't focus on the flaws here, there's definitely something to look at. There's something to enjoy. That's really worth seeing. People keep leaving for Colombia and other Latin American countries. They are seeking a better life. They have nothing to do here, unfortunately. Financial and political crisis is not making the situation any better. A pile of crap lies under each tree. Flies are all around. No one takes the garbage away. Devastation and desolation. That's how the fabulous square looks like. In passing by, it looks like some kind of Middle Asian wedding place. Yes, it's the entrance. No traces of taste here, obviously. The only more or less well-made detail of the square is the street lamps. Only the street lamps are historical here. They're exceptionally well made against everything else. Like the weird passage and absurd benches. The insanely flashy railings. They're awful. The lampposts look at least kind of historical, and were designed by someone with a sense of beauty. That used to be a ministry, but now, judging by the smell, it's a public toilet. I guess people simply come here to poop. Garbage is all around. Piles of trash on the stairs. Everything is literally crapped and peed all over. Aside the main streets, the beauty begins. People are chilling next to the local club. Hello, good evening. They're enjoying themselves, they have music and booze. The road's not so good, I'm afraid. I guess the drain water is leaking out here. But it's probably even more fun. Yes, they apparently have problems with garbage and drain water. And someone's already grinding his knife. You may wonder how come both the capital and the main oil city of Venezuela turned into slums. In the 1980s, the government nationalized the crude oil industry. As a result, Venezuela lost all foreign investments. Besides, oil prices plummeted down. All of a sudden, Venezuela was broke. In 1989, Carlos Perez became the president. He announced severe economic restrictions. During his first year, the unemployment rate increased by 2 times. The inflation rate was 84%. Protests and street riots started soon. Perez declared a state of emergency in return. In 5 days in February and March of 1989, more than 250 people were killed in riot suppression. Perez saved his power by force, and at the same time he abolished the Constitution article that prohibited 2 re-elections in a row. Even the military disliked Perez's presidency. On February 3, 1992, the parachute regiment of the Venezuela army made a coup attempt. It was led by Hugo Chavez. The coup attempt of '92 was failed, but it made the government unite against the president. It was followed by Perez's impeachment a year after, when he fled the country. After the failed coup attempt, Chavez was imprisoned for 2 years. After his release, he went into politics. He placed a bet on the poorest Venezuelan citizens. During the 1990 1998 presidential election, he got more than 55% of the votes. I talked about Venezuela politics with the local political expert, Anel Lugo. My first question is, what led to the revolution and to Chávez's presidency? There were two major movements that led us to that. The first one was anti-political, with Venezuelans getting tired of politicians. The second one noted people refusing to accept the changes in Venezuela's economy. Both movements allowed Chávez to become a revenger, who came to punish politicians and restore social balance. The movements became part of a Chavismo ideology. Later, it turned into a kind of information machine that presented Chávez as a glorious Venezuela savior. After he got the power, military officer Chávez declared the beginning of the Bolivarian Revolution. He presented the new constitution, claimed anti-American foreign policy, and increased control over the oil industry. Chávez established good relationships with Russia and Cuba, and declared himself a 21st century socialist. People don't believe in communism. They never did. Neither did I when Chávez came to power. People believe in democracy, and so do I. I believed Chávez would refine and strengthen our democracy. Of course, that turned out to be political marketing. After he took control over the media, the hope for democracy in Venezuela was lost. I'd say Chávez tried to impose his ideology. That happened not because people believed in communism. Again, riots started in Venezuela. In April 2002, during the protests against Chávez, nearly 20 people were killed by snipers. After that, the military surrounded the presidential palace with tanks and demanded for Chávez's resignation. They took the president away to a military base, and the interim government and president came to power. They proved to be truly temporal. A day later, a crowd of Chávez's supporters came to the presidential palace and deposed the new authorities. One more day later, Hugo Chávez was back in the palace. In 2006, Chávez won the presidential election. Then he started nationalizing all the foreign enterprises that worked in the country. At the same time, the president decided to rewrite the constitution once more. 2 presidential terms were not enough for him, and he decided to abolish the limit. At the referendum of 2007, 51% of Venezuelans voted against the terms of limit abolishment. Chávez did not give up, and after a year, he arranged another referendum. This time, 54% voted against the limit abolishment. He in turn promised to stay in power until 2021. The president kept his nationalization course and achieved economic isolation for his country. Since 2010, terrible inflation has hit Venezuela. It resulted in the lack of groceries and rolling blackouts. However, in 2012, Chávez was elected president for the 3rd time. Only death was able to put an end to his power. On March 5, 2013, Hugo Chávez died of a heart attack. He was buried in a marble sarcophagus in the Museum of the Revolution. After Chávez died in 2013, Nicolas Maduro came to power. The country was in a horrible state when he got it. The annual inflation rate was more than 50%. Criminals invaded the streets. Citizens were unemployed. Obviously, people had no love for the authorities under such conditions. Maduro chose rather weird ways to gain their love. Say he arrested the owners of a chain of electronics stores and sold out their goods for 10 times lower. But not everyone was happy with the giveaway, and some stores simply got robbed. Of course, that in no way helped Maduro restore the economy. In 2016, the opposition demanded to arrange a referendum for Maduro's deposition. 2 million signed the petition. That's more than 5% of Venezuela's citizens. But the Venezuelan Election Commission claimed a half of the signatures fake. That reminds me of something, doesn't it? Then Maduro declared the country had no time for a referendum. He remained in power till the end of his first term. When Maduro came to power after Chávez's death, was he taken as a Chávez follower with the same concepts, or did he have his own statements? Right before he passed away, Chávez asked the people to vote for Maduro. That was he who chose Maduro to be his successor. Maduro didn't represent anyone. He didn't give any statements other than Chávez's concept or image. So Chávez's plea to vote for Maduro was more like an order to vote for the one similar to himself.
Although the people who used to work with Chávez and then worked with Maduro claim Maduro's policy differed from that of Chávez. In 2013, Maduro won the presidential election with only 1% more than the opposition candidate had. After 5 failed years of presidency, there was almost no way for him to win the election.
Was the presidential election 2018 honest? No, it was not honest at all. The results were not recognized either internationally or internally. The conditions for both the election and the opposition candidate selection, the processes were not legitimate. Maduro had a huge advantage in informational resources, in mass media, unlike the opposition. Many people dependent on the state voted for him. And the military working for Maduro were enforced to falsify the results. They didn't restrict the voting itself, but they hindered voting for the opposition. During the 2018 presidential election, Maduro didn't let any of his opponents in, and let's say won it with 2/3 of the votes. Right after his inauguration, countrywide riots began. They were led by Juan Guaido, the local head of parliament. He declared himself the interim president. The USA and EU states supported him. Russia, China, Mexico, Iran, and Turkey stood for Maduro. According to conducted polls, 80% of Venezuelans voted for Maduro to leave. But the president was supported by the military, and after long confrontation with the opposition and the citizens, Maduro remained in power.
That was until January 3rd, 2026, when U.S. forces captured Maduro in Caracas and flew him to Brooklyn in handcuffs. Delcy Rodriguez is now leading the country, political prisoners are being released, and there's talk of letting U.S. oil companies back in. Meanwhile, ordinary Venezuelans are patiently waiting for real democracy to finally arrive. Is this the change they've been praying for? Honestly, it's too soon to tell. And let's be real, nobody should hold their breath expecting Trump to fix anything, but at the very least, for the first time in years, there's hope. And after everything this country has been through, Venezuelans deserve peace and prosperity. Friends, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more stories that matter.